And what is up, everybody? I'm sorry, I was just sharing this out. Um, what's up, everybody? I'm Joe DeHoyos. I am the host of Beyond the Woodline. Real quick, before we get started, I just like to tell you guys what I always talk to you guys about, the whole Bigfoot thing, right? Taylor's probably gonna think I'm crazy, but just bear with me for a couple of minutes here. If you guys are interested in helping out and researching this creature, and you guys want to participate, hit me up beyond.woodline@gmail.com. I am part of the JRG, which is a Jevening research group founded and started by William Jevening, who's been in the field for close to 50 years now. He's a great guy too, and we have teams in New York State, Ohio, Florida, Louisiana, California, Oregon, Missouri. Um, I always miss a couple of states too. I know I do, but of course here in Texas, where I'm at. So if you guys are interested, let me know. You don't have to get out into the field. These last 2 summers here in Texas is just brutally hot, so I don't even go out in the summertime as far as camping and staying overnight. That's just I'm done with that aspect of it. But yeah, if you guys want to help out, you don't even have to get out to the field. You can do it from your laptop, your computer, your cell phone. You can give us suggestions on techniques. You can even find spots, locations, and even witnesses for us if you can. So with all that being said, I know you guys don't tune in to hear me ramble all night. I have with me tonight uh, Taylor Marie. Taylor, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I really do appreciate you coming on. And um, yeah, we had to cancel the first night. Hey Z, how are you doing? Um, and then we had to reschedule. So I really do appreciate you doing this for me again. And um, before we get started, one of the things that caught my attention with you is the how you come across, right? It was so like I got this vibe of like sitting in a car with you, like we're going on a road trip, and just sitting there talking. That's the vibe I got. So and I really appreciated that too. Um, and was I got to looking at your all your content from your different social media platforms. Uh, man, you're like an onion. You've got so many layers, right? And I mean, just from the artistic standpoint, the photography, the videography, or I don't know if you want to call it cinematography, because I think it certainly qualifies for that as well. Your drawing, your painting, the moose thing was incredible, right? Uh,
Thank you.
your dancing, the fire spinning, it's your outfits, for that matter too, and the makeup. Um, where did you get that from? I know that's kind of a crazy question because you're either born an artist or you're not, but how did you how did this all take shape for you in the artistic sense?
Yeah, for sure. For starters, thank you so much for all of your kind words. Like that means a lot to me. And also thank you for having me and rescheduling. This is awesome. So excited to be here. Yeah, I have always been an artist, always been artistic since childhood, since birth. Like art class was always my favorite. I was always dancing. I did dance, cheerleading, kick line, gymnastics, jujitsu, all of that stuff growing up. So there was a lot of creativity in my life since I was born. And then I went to college for studio art, art therapy, and psychology. Those were my three majors that I did. And I had my concentration in painting. And I had, hi everyone. Um, Painting and drawing were my two main concentrations. So I pursued it even further in college. And also, while I was in college, there was a club called Hoop Troop where we would do the hula hoop thing and the flow arts and the circus arts and all of that. So that's where that kind of came in. So I was an art major. So that's where all the artistic stuff
Okay.
kind of flourished for me. Then in my extracurricular life for fun, I was learning how to hula hoop, how to juggle, how to do all these circus arts. And that branched off into fire spinning, which then branched off into doing performances around campus, performing solo. Then I started traveling for events. So I started traveling for um like circus conventions, like juggling festivals and flow art festivals and fire festivals. So then I started traveling places and meeting more people. So really from birth up until now, more and more seeds kept getting planted I think I was attracting the artistic energy by putting it out and making it a part of my being and who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Because creatively expressing myself is at the core of who I am as a person. I'm always, always, always going to be an artist. So,
Right. Yeah. Well, like I
yeah.
said, you've got some amazing work, and if anyone uh, hasn't seen it, I saw like most of her art stuff on Instagram, so you guys follow her on Instagram. I mean, like I said, the moose painting was crazy. That was crazy good. I don't like I can't even barely draw like stick figures, Uh, but I've got a son who's quite the artist too, man. He can draw his butt off really good too. So yeah, so kudos to you on all that stuff.
Thank you.
Um, but yeah, the tarot and the astrology stuff what I originally noticed about you. Like I said, um, you got your fan club in here.
They're the
She
best.
can do it all. Yeah,
Um,
she can do it all. Yes, she really can. Uh, that's what caught my attention. And like I said, just hearing you talk and not just talk and not even just converse, but like actually engage with the audience. And you have a way of going into depth without uh, sounding like you're like really going deep. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I liked about you too. So, um, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about that journey into the tarot and the astrology part of your life.
For sure. Yeah. I was actually saving this story for your podcast in particular because I have not talked about the origins of tarot for me, I don't think anywhere yet.
Okay.
So I actually first started reading cards when I was like 10 or 11 years old because on vacation with my grandparents, my grandma came out to me and told me that she was a well known professional tarot reader back in the day.
Oh
And
wow.
little me was like, what does that mean? And she told me about it. And then she told me that you could also read cards with playing cards. So we went out to one of the touristy local shops and we found a deck of, oh my gosh, everyone's like popping off and being so nice. Love you guys. We went out to a tourist shop and found a deck of playing cards. We couldn't find regular tarot cards, but we found playing cards. So I remember bringing them back to our hotel, looking up the meanings of all of them, committing all of them to memory that night because I was that
Wow.
determined, and started doing card readings at 10 years old for my friends and my family. And some time went by and I just completely forgot about it. 10-year-olds, they're kind of like shifting around, doing a bunch of different things all the time. So the origins of me reading tarot and being exposed to that world actually happened really early in my life, and it started out as just a thing that interests my 10-year-old brain, and I thought it was super cool. And then fast forward to college is when I started seeing tarot readers online and then seeing like the local tarot readers, and it reminded me of my interest in it. And now that I'm older and have more experience and just perspective on life, I remember looking at the tarot readers, seeing that reading tarot, there was a sense of power to it. There was a sense of knowledge to it. It
Mhm.
was like divine knowledge through archetypes, through studying, through ancient wisdom. And just being able to read like that, to me, I thought that was super powerful. I thought it was super fascinating. And it really gave me this vibe that these people, not that they had it together, but like they knew what they were doing. They had a sense of autonomy in their lives. They had a sense of connection to themselves to be able to read. And I respected that so much, especially as a psychology major at the time, diving into the depths of the psyche, learning all of that, learning about Carl Jung, who studied and did research on the archetypes and all of that. So there was a lot of crossover between spirituality and my education. And I took it a step further in grad school when I wrote my thesis. I wrote my thesis on psychospirituality and how spirituality and connection to something greater than the self plays out in our wellness. So that's where it started. And then again, like kind of planted more seeds as I got older and went about life. So in grad school, I officially went back and got some tarot decks and got back into all of the tarot stuff and the spirituality stuff that I originally was into back when I was like 10 years old, first getting into it. And the astrology is a little bit different. Astrology, I remember still around 10 years old learning like what the sun signs were. And I
Oh,
just felt so compelled to draw out every single sign. Like I
mm,
wanted to memorize how to draw the symbols. Like I don't know why. It was just fascinating to me. And then I've studied it on and off up until about a year and a half ago. And a year and a half ago is when I dove back into it for real, for serious. I found an astrologer who created his own system of astrology. He became my mentor almost 2 years ago and took me under his wing and taught me his system and taught me the ancient knowledge that he knows. So then I tied that together with my tarot to have this accumulation of spirituality. So that's a little bit about where it started and how we
right,
got here now.
right. Eh, so what made you say, "I wanna do the whole TikTok thing?" You know, because there's, like, tons of tarot readers on TikTok. What made you say, "You know what? I'm gonna join this crazy little app?"
Great question. So I had tarot. I had TikTok probably like 2 or 3 years before I hopped on to do live tarot and astrology readings for people. I wanted to hop on TikTok, and don't get me wrong, at first it was really intimidating. Like it took me a little bit to build up the courage to be able to, but as of until recently, for the longest time, I lived in a very rural area. There weren't a lot of resources. There weren't a lot of spiritual shops. There wasn't a lot of opportunity for me to be able to provide these services in person. And I saw a lot of readers online. So I just started doing research on it and just found that TikTok, naturally being an app that I use, I'm active on, I have a good following on, it just seemed like the logical next step in getting my name out there and doing readings for people. And to be able to build myself up to feel confident enough to do that, I actually started reading for my friends and family on Snapchat first. I just started sending quick
Okay.
Snapchat videos to my friends and family to kind of get in the groove of reading for other people, and over Facebook and all of that. And then when I felt confident enough, that's when I made the switch over to TikTok.
Okay. Well, man, I applaud you for that because, like we were saying before we came on the air, I can't do live on TikTok. I just feel so uncomfortable with it. I don't know why. I just do. But when it comes to tarot, what are some of the misconceptions that you see that is out there about tarot?
Oh, where does one begin? For
Mhm.
starters, I call it pop culture tarot. I think tarot got a bad name with fortune telling. A lot of people attribute tarot to fortune telling and psychic abilities in foreseeing the future and telling you your future and telling you what is going to happen. That is a very, very common misconception about tarot, is that it tells your future. Rather, tarot is a tool to help you shape your own future because you have free will and you create essentially your reality and your destiny, not the cards telling you what is or isn't going to happen. We could tell you and make inferences about what's likely to happen given the current situation and given your current view on the situation, but tarot cannot tell you definitively what's going to happen. So that's one of the big ones, because we very commonly get questions like, are me and so going to get back together? Is this person going to come back to me? Am I going to get this job? Am I going to get promoted? And these are valid questions, like fair, like we want to
Right.
know these things, and like I totally resonate with that. It just becomes a tricky game when you're trying to help someone but also not be able to provide that exact answer that they're seeking. In reality, it's more so we're helping you reach this goal of yours. So that's one of the biggest ones, I
Yeah,
would say.
and it's interesting that you brought that up because I actually saw one or two videos of you talking about this very thing. Like, I think one of the videos I saw was like, "Are they coming back or will they come back?" or something like that, right? And it's
Mhm.
not like a yes or no question, right? Or an answer rather. And your answer at the end was like, "It doesn't matter," you know? And I mean that really hit me. I was like, "Holy cow, it's true," right? Because um it it doesn't in a way, right? I mean, I mean, because you talked about the person, working on themselves and building themselves back up, right? And that's really what's important because no matter if that person came back or not, if things don't change, the same result's going to happen basically. Um, so yeah, so that was a really great answer. I thought that it doesn't matter, because but you told this person, or I don't know if you were talking to anyone in particular, uh, but you were saying, you got to work on yourself, right?
Yes.
And yeah, so I mean, that was a great video, and I think you even started off saying yes or no questions were the bane of your existence. You know, but it's true. It's true because there's there's not it's not that simple, right? Yes or no?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like it's not that black or white. It's very rare that the situations we experience in life is that black or white where it's like yes or no. There are objective truths, yes, but again, it really is all about bringing it back to yourself and your development and who you are and not so much focusing on the other person because that's just a waste of the tarot energy when you could be getting so much more from it. So that's another misconception about tarot is that you could get good answers by just asking yes or no and then getting a yes or no. Because you could scroll on TikTok and ask every tarot reader that you see the same yes or no question. Maybe you'll get 10 yeses and 5 nos, or maybe you'll get 50-50. Either way, every tarot reader reads differently. They'll pick up on different energies. And again, it's very rare that our lives are boiled down to just one or the other. Tarot is a comprehensive story of the human experience. Tarot itself, throughout all of the suits, is the story of what it means to be human. So to like dilute it down to like yes or no, it gets tricky. It gets tricky. It's not always going to be helpful.
Right. And and it's like I think one of the questions or that you had asked, or maybe somebody else had asked you, was like, "Will my business be successful, or will I be successful?" Right? And that's not like a yes or no question because even if you said no, that doesn't mean that you won't be if you don't change what's going on, right?
Yes.
You need to change what's happening. If you stay in that same bubble that you're in, then yeah, you're not going to be successful. You need to learn how to change and uh, adapt. I guess is a good word for it, right?
Yeah. A better question would be how can I make my business successful rather than will my business be successful? That's what
Right,
I encourage when I read.
right, yeah. Like I said, the way you explain everything, man, it's like, boom, why didn't I think of that? You know, and I think that speaks volumes on your perception and how wise you are for your age. And I remember I caught you in one live, and we were, or somebody had asked a question about love and stuff, and we're talking about relationships, and everybody was like, "Hey, don't include me in this," right? I don't know if you remember that night.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, but and you were talking about that, and it was like again, you were talking about we need to work on ourselves before we start worrying about who we fall in love with or the person that we're in love with, because and that night it was like, holy cow, man, she makes so much sense talking about this stuff, and here I am, 52 years old, thinking I got it all figured out, and I'm like going to bed, I got a whole new mindset, so you know, thank you for that too. I do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Um, and you talked about like in one of the videos I saw you talking about like psychics and being intuitive, right?
Mhm.
And you seem to lean more on being intuitive, right? Um, can you explain that a little bit more?
For sure. Yeah. I think psychic and intuition, I feel like they are very similar and interchangeable, but it's similar to what I was talking about earlier. For me personally, I feel like the word psychic has this connotation of like, I could see the future, I will tell you your future, stuff like that. Whereas intuition is more so rooted in gut feelings, in like messages that you do get. Like, I feel like there's a spiritual side and a practical side, and that's a lot of my workings. I do like to combine the spiritual with the practical. The spiritual side is that I do feel that intuitively we receive messages from whatever you subscribe to, the universe, your guides, God, whatever you subscribe to. Like I do feel like you are a conduit for messages to come through, but more so messages of wisdom, not messages of like fortune telling, so to speak. And the practical side, where that gut feeling comes from, I do feel like to an extent as human beings, because we are designed to survive and to maintain our survival, we feel things intuitively that may be harmful to us. So we get that gut feeling to avoid those things, or we get a gut feeling to pursue something that we know would be good for us. So I do truly, fully believe that it's a combination of both. There is a level of faith of where this gut feeling comes from. Like, I personally feel like I am being divinely guided in a way. I do have a connection to myself and like my spirit guides and my higher self and all of that. I do intuitively feel like I have that. I do feel like I'm a very intuitive person. And I also can acknowledge that I have past experiences that do make me very in tune with certain things. And that's just learned behavior, which is also rooted in psychology and things that we could observe on a daily basis. So I really do think that both things are true and can be true at the same time when it comes to intuition. I don't think that like psychic abilities again are telling the future or knowing something that you shouldn't know or would have no way of knowing. It's more so again the personal journey and the personal feelings that you get that keep you safe and also bring you towards what you're working towards.
So this has nothing to do with tarot, but you made me think about something that I want to ask you. Why don't people listen to their intuition as much? Like we could be like in a situation like, okay, if I go right, this is a bad decision. If I go left, this is a good decision, right? Why do people like make that right turn? You know,
Oh, the right turn
and
bad
yeah,
decision.
yeah, like the bad decision. And we probably all been there, right? Like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this, but I'm gonna do it. Why do we do that stuff?
Great question. I think the answer is going to be different for every individual, given their upbringing, their current circumstances, cultural reasons, all of that. So I do think there's a lot at play here when it comes to following our intuition. One of the first thing that comes to mind is people realizing that they have intuition. I feel like since some people may be unaware of that they have intuition, they don't listen to it because they actually aren't connected to it. Like they might not actually be connected to their intuition, or they understand they have it, but they don't trust it. They don't
Right,
trust their own intuition because for some reason or another, they don't trust themselves, which does come from a disconnect to the self for one reason or another. Another reason that comes to mind is that sometimes I feel other people's intuition is influenced by society or family or friends. Like there's external factors that
right,
kind of weigh in that change their mind. Or let's just say they were raised a certain way. So they were raised to think, feel, and be a certain way, but their intuition is telling them to go a different way. They're going to stick with their early conditioning because it feels wrong or maybe even shameful to break away from what they learned. So I think there's a plethora of reasons
right.
why we avoid our intuition or don't listen to it or don't have a connection to it. And and I think it's all valid and I think it's all fair. And I think if we meet that with understanding and compassion, I think everyone can find their way back to themselves, back to their intuition, and most importantly, trusting themselves. So establishing a sense of self is very prevalent in my work. And that's why I work to empower people to, you know, get back in touch with that.
No, yeah, exactly. And I was gonna say that too. I think you do a great job in empowering people and uplifting them and encourage them. So yeah, I think you do a great job in that. Well, back to tarot a little bit. Is that something anyone can do? You think?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so. I believe that we all come from different perspectives and will learn it and use it differently. But I do feel like it's universal. I feel like anyone, no matter your background, religion, upbringing, I feel like anyone can tap into it if it's something that they feel is right for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's excuse me. It's funny because like I know we talked a while back on our the first time we had our video chat. And I told you, I would have never thought I'd be into this subject, 5 years ago, and I'll be honest, I kind of made fun of it, and I was like, these people, these people just, get them away from me, right? Yeah, look at these people over here. And now I'm like into it, right? I've got like 3 sets of oracle cards and 3 sets of tarot cards, and I'm not good at the tarot yet. I just can't focus, I guess. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I have to agree with you. I need to work more with my intuition and trusting it when I read the tarot, I guess, and um, I don't know what it is. I just can't really grasp it yet. I don't know. Maybe I just need more practice. But yeah. And I always thought it was strange when I would see someone who was a religious person, me growing up, almost an entirely Catholic family, including my uncles, aunts, cousins, right? And I had a couple of cousins that were older than me, and they practiced tarot, and I just thought that was so just so strange and weird, to see someone who's religious doing tarot, right?
Mhm.
Um, what are your thoughts on that? On people who are religious and practice tarot?
I love it. I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing to be able to combine the two without any guilt or shame. Because again, I feel like these things can exist at the same time. I feel like you can be religious and practice tarot at the same time. Because again, I firmly believe that tarot is a wonderful tool for self exploration and just understanding yourself deeper. And then when you're able to combine your religious practice with that to find even more meaning in it, I think that's beautiful. I think that's amazing. And I'm not religious myself, but if anyone who has a connection to something greater than themselves, even if it's something that I don't practice myself or something that I don't understand, I'm just happy because they have that connection. So I think it's really beautiful to be able to combine the two, especially if that's what's right for the person. If their intuition tells them that's right, they feel good doing it, they lead better lives, maybe they help other people with it. I think that's amazing. And I had a similar experience to you as well when I first learned that people who are Christian or have like a religious system also use tarot, because I've experienced the opposite end of that, where I have been met with some hostility from religious groups or religious people for practicing tarot. So I always originally thought that tarot and religion could not coexist with each other. But then to find out that they can and do, I think that's a beautiful celebration of acceptance for just humanity as a whole, just to be so allowing of these practices to be a thing for people. I think it's great.
Yeah, yeah, I have to agree with you too. Yeah, growing up, I was very religious. Now I'm very not, but uh, I just had a whole change of. I guess my whole outlook had, changed, over the course of several years. And let's see, Naomi here. She says, "Say it louder." Sending this to my parents right now. I'm sorry, Naomi. Hope everything works out for you. It will. It will. And your fan club continues. That is so beautifully said. Yeah. So, what's been your biggest challenge as far as getting yourself off the ground, as far as your tarot work goes, and getting known and getting your content out there? What's been your biggest challenge?
Hmm.
It's like ain't no more challenge. It's easy.
I was gonna say, Joe, the challenge was not doing it, because now that I'm doing it, I feel very aligned with my energies. I feel very aligned with who I am and what I'm meant to be doing. The challenge was fighting that. The challenge was telling myself that I shouldn't do this. I can't do this. It's not what was expected of me. It's not what was traditional or anything like that. It's not like a direct use of my degree that I got. So, the challenge was actually, like you said, getting myself off the ground and having that mindset shift around what I can and can't do in this lifetime. And ironically, tarot and astrology were the things that empowered me to see that actually I can and I should, because this is what I'm aligned with. This is what I'm meant to do. In terms of doing it, and I guess one of the challenges is that since this isn't a traditional route, there's really no guidebook on how to do it. Like, I do have to figure it out myself, like my hours, what I put into it, how I do it. I don't have anyone around telling me the right way to do it or the wrong way to do it. This is all trial and error. So, pursuing my own spiritual business and pursuing my own work and career and all of that, the most challenging thing is really not knowing all of the time like what the outcome is going to be. And I feel like that is the case in like jobs and stuff, but when you have a supervisor telling you things, or you have, like you get a promotion when you do good or something like that, like there's signifiers. But in this line of work, it more so again comes from within. You have to validate yourself. You have to remind yourself to keep going. You have to tell yourself you're doing good. You have to identify your own wins. So navigating that was challenging in the beginning. I like to think that I've gotten better at it with practice and over time, because I've been doing this for some time now. And then aside from that challenge, just the typical people that pop into my TikTok lives that, meet me with hostility of like, you shouldn't do this, this is, the work of the devil, and like all of that stuff. Like that does get a little challenging from time to time, but I have some lovely people who are here in the chat with us right now who help moderate, and they, stand up for me and my work and our community, and they'll hit that block button if they have to. So, my community also relieves some of that strain and that challenge for me, which is one of the many reasons why I'm so grateful for them. But yeah, so there's been some challenges along the way.
Yeah. Well, like I told you earlier, I think you're doing a great job, and I think you're everyone that follows you, definitely appreciates you and love you for what you do. So don't ever let anybody get you down. I hope you don't ever get down. Um, but
Yeah.
but what do you do for yourself to make sure you don't get down?
Ooh, good question. Okay, I'm a little bit of a workaholic. I do work a lot. I do put a lot into this. But I remain passionate. I remain motivated. I remember my why. I remember why I'm doing what I'm doing. And a lot of it does stem from guilt and shame from my own personal childhood. I've always had a bit of a dramatic personality. I've always been very like outspoken. I've always spoken my mind. I've always spoken the truth. I've always put my all into things. And there have been times throughout my life where I have learned this narrative that I'm too much and that I should feel shameful for these aspects of myself. When in reality, these aspects of myself, after embracing them, are why I'm successful to this day. So when I do get like down based off of things that other people are saying, because I get it from my podcast too. My podcast people would come at me for my energy and stuff like that. I remind myself of how far I've come and what it took to get here, and that some of these things that these people are calling me out for are actually things that I love myself for, and are things that have helped people immensely
Okay.
in my community. So it's a lot of mindset shifts. It's a lot of reprogramming of learned narratives in my life. It's a consistent dedication to living authentically and exploring myself every single day, remaining open minded to that, resting when needed, like that typical self care stuff, that comes into. And then also, again, confiding in and leaning on my wonderful community, which a lot of them are here right now. So they've also been a really big support in kind of keeping me on my feet too. So they always make me feel better when I'm feeling down. And social support is like one of the most important things
Hey,
for
that's good.
all of
That's
us.
good.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing because I also saw one of your videos where you talked about like unclenching your jaw, right? Man, about 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, I remember going to work in the morning and I caught myself like biting down, like clenching my jaw and like white knuckling my steering wheel. And I have no idea why, you know, but ever since then, I'm very mindful of not to do that. I'm very mindful to stay relaxed and stay focused and to meditate, which I do a lot now. Like I said, I started that about 5 years ago. Yeah, it just I guess it's just life sometimes just gets the better of you. You don't even realize it. And yeah, I've caught myself clenching that jaw, like I said, holding onto the steering wheel super tight. I'm like, I live 5 minutes away. Why am I driving like this? You know. So yeah. So
Well,
I just thought it was funny, and I actually saw that video today. That you said, remember to breathe. Remember to
yeah,
breathe. Yeah.
for sure. And good for you for noticing it too, because being aware of it is literally the first step. And then you're able to, do something with that awareness. And I think that's awesome for you. Like I love that for you. And it's very often that when you see my posts about unclench your jaw, or like here's the reading, or whenever you see it's very likely that that's something that I needed to hear for myself in that moment.
Oh,
So Yeah, so I'm
Yeah,
glad that you saw it, and I'm also glad that you're also able to like do that work, for yourself too, because that's really important and really big too.
yeah. And Bella says, Taylor, your podcast is life changing. Seriously, it helped me remain with no contact with a specific person and recognize my worth.
Thank you, Bella. I'm so glad. That's why I do it. That's why I make it. That's the whole purpose.
Yeah, I'm glad all your fan club is in here.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's so important to have people that that support you like this, right? And they let you know that you're doing the right thing and that you're on the right path. Um, me doing this podcast, I've got a lot of support from people I didn't think would ever support me. You know, and it's a great thing to have, and it's funny because from people that I thought, like I said, would never support me, send me videos or send me articles they found on Bigfoot or UFOs or paranormal all the time. So I'm always reading stuff, and I'm always like, yeah, thank you for sending it to me. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and that's why I do this show too. Is not just to for my own entertainment, but to get people like you on here, and to help somebody out. Hopefully, somebody will listen, and and something will click, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing I saw you talking about tarot, um, that you actually talk about a lot of stuff that people don't talk about, like the yes or no thing, right? But you also talked about people reading the guidebook when they read their tarot, right?
Mhm.
People don't talk about that, but you do, and you encourage it, right? Read the guidebook, right? Why do you think that's important for people to know that they shouldn't be ashamed to go to that guidebook?
Yeah, yeah. I think about this deeply often. I feel like there is this idea that when you know how to read tarot and you've made it, so to speak, then you don't need the guidebook anymore. Like the guidebook, I feel like for a lot of people feels like training wheels, and it feels like that's something you do when you're just beginning, and that's a sign of being a beginner and not knowing enough. I don't agree with that at all. I think books contain so much knowledge that you can't even put all that knowledge in your brain your first 5 times reading it. Like the guidebook is extensively going over 78 cards in the whole tarot. And you're never going to know all of the information that exists out in the world about each card in tarot. Like it's just humanely impossible, which isn't a bad thing. I think it's actually a beautiful thing to go back to the guidebook or go back to different guidebooks and expand your knowledge and your worldview on different cards. So I think it's really important to go back to the guidebook to develop a deeper relationship with each card and then also add different perspectives to your repertoire of knowledge that you have about each card because that's only going to make you a better tarot reader. You're going to know more, you're going to understand and see it from different perspectives, you'll be more worldly, more philosophical. So I don't find any shame in going back to the guidebook, whether you're reading tarot for a day, a year, 100 years. I think we're always learning, and I value knowledge a lot, which is the basis for a lot of the work that I do. I do feel like knowledge is power. I feel like knowledge is very important for all of us to have and to always be open to receiving. So I think it's honestly more professional to actually go back and learn more and admit that there's more to learn rather than claiming that you made it, you know it all, and there's nothing left to learn. I think it's way more of a tarot reader to be like, no, like I'm open to learning forever. And I think that's beautiful. So I think that's why it's important.
Yeah, and that's probably a good way to live your life too, because I'm always trying to learn. I've been in printing 32 years, right? And I'm always trying to learn how to make my job easier and how to make it better, right? How to uh, create something different, And I love knowledge. I love trying to learn, and I think that's some good advice. Nobody ever's going to know it all, uh, and there's nothing wrong with saying, "Hey, I don't know it all." There's nothing wrong with saying, "I don't know," right? There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
But try to find out is what I say. To just not just say, "Hey, I don't know." There's nothing I can do about it, right? I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. You know,
Yeah,
I
for
think it's
sure.
yeah, yeah. So, do you have a favorite deck?
Ooh, This is a tough one because I have so many decks that I love. I love the traditional Rider-Waite deck, like the universal, just the one that everyone knows. It's like the main original one. Like I just love that one. I just love the original. But also another one of my decks that's been with me for a long time. I really love my Tarot of the Abyss deck. It looks like this. It is a black and white deck, and it's kind of hard to see with the light here,
Okay.
but the illustrations are black and white and they're hand drawn. And it's a bit of a more like shadowy, darker deck. And it is very, very, very similar to the original Rider Waite. Like the imagery is similar, but the person who illustrated it had a little bit more artistic integrity with it, which I respect a lot. And the author put their own interpretations in the meanings of the cards, which is why I recommend reading multiple guidebooks so you get those different interpretations. But the Tarot of the Abyss deck is probably my favorite. It's one because it's been with me like the longest. I feel most connected to it. And a lot of my work is diving into the dark side of the psyche and kind of like shedding light on it. And this deck, just the energy that it has and the energy of the readings that I do with this deck, it really gets to the point and it dives deep and it really just it does not sugarcoat the truth. I feel just the kind of readings that I do with this deck, it's very, very, very transformative, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you thought about making your own deck?
I have. I'm actually in the process of putting it together and illustrating it and making my own Black Moon Taylor deck, which is in the works. It is something that I'm planning on doing. I will probably really dive into that after I finish my tarot book that I'm working on. I think I'm going to publish my book first and then move on to making my own tarot deck.
That'd be very interesting to see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on learning the tarot deck first, but I also have some plans, but I don't want to just do a tarot deck and I don't know what the heck I'm doing, like I don't know, right? So I don't want to create something and to me it won't have the same energy, right? But uh, someone would probably steal my idea, but I want to do like all cryptids, like Bigfoot, Loch Ness monster, the Mothman, that's the kind of stuff I want to do. I think that'd be pretty cool.
That
But
would be really
anybody else does it, it's not going to be good energy. There you go. So yeah, it may be a couple of years away from me doing it, but I want to learn and do this properly first before I start creating stuff.
for
Yeah.
sure. That's
What other
awesome.
projects do you have in the works for yourself?
So I am, like I said, writing my book. I am going to dive into making my own tarot deck. I'm currently working on Black Moon Taylor hoodies. By popular demand, we all want Black
Yeah.
Moon Taylor hoodies, so I'm working on that. I'm working on a tarot masterclass in a way. So the way that I want to teach it is different than what you could find on for free on Google or just every other tarot masterclass out there because there's thousands of them. I do want to teach how to read tarot, but I also want to teach how to read tarot from a counselor perspective. Obviously not providing psychotherapy, but again, I want to bring forward my education and teach counseling skills and teach counseling dynamics that come up when you're working one-on-one with someone. And part of that comes from understanding them as a whole person, understanding their upbringing, their culture, all of that, realizing they're the expert of their own lives. So really provide that additional take on it to really help people learn how to read for themselves and other people in a way that's actually helpful. So
Mhm.
right now I'm kind of structuring the values around Black Moon Taylor and the way that we read at Black Moon Taylor. And I say we because I'm also recruiting and bringing people into Black Moon Taylor so that they could provide services through Black Moon Taylor as well if they do tarot, if they do astrology, if they do shamanism, if they do whatever it is, whatever that they want to do. Because I'm looking to make Black Moon Taylor a place that honors people's strengths in ways that conventional workplaces often overlook for people. So if you have a weird niche or you have like some disability that makes working hard or jobs or conventional jobs has never worked out for you, my main purpose here in Black Moon Taylor is providing a space for these people to come, to gather, to learn, to find community, and then make a living and provide services, being able to do what they love and to be able to lean on their strengths and use their skill set again in places where conventional workplaces, they don't care about that. They just want you to show up, type in some numbers in the computer and go home. I want to bring that out of people and like actually honor these parts of them, and that they feel a sense of belonging here at Black Moon Taylor so that they could provide what they want to provide. So that's definitely a long-term goal of mine. That's also in the works too. We're already bringing people on as we speak, which is really awesome. So just kind of squaring all of that away.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, shoot, that sounds awesome. I love to see the finished product of that, and when you get that thing up and going. Um, you also have a website, correct?
Yes, yes. It is blackmoontaylor.com, and everything of mine is on there. My podcast, my readings, classes, one-on-one tutoring, resources that I make. I do make resources for people. So a lot of the things that I talk about in terms of manifestation or establishing a sense of self, understanding your values, things that make you more powerful. That's all there on my website.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I did want to talk to you about that, about manifestation, right? And
Sure.
I saw one of your videos about that too. Um, explain that in your own words, what exactly that is, manifestation.
Yeah, so manifestation is literally creating the life that you want to live for yourself and making things happen for yourself. I feel like there are all these insane definitions of manifestation. I think it's quite simple. Like when you achieve a goal, you manifested it. You woke up this morning from your alarm, you manifested not oversleeping. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's actually much more simple and obtainable than people make it out to be. So manifestation truly is creating the life that you want to live, making things happen around you that you want to happen, being around the people you want to be around, doing the work that you want to do, and being in alignment with yourself.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, like I said, there's tons of definitions for that, and some of them sound pretty complicated, right? And actually, some of them sound pretty intimidating. Like, oh, but I could never do that, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's all about perspective and um, just knowing that you can do it, right? I think you know life is hard, right? But if you don't try, it's even harder. I think
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'm trying to read my notes. Can you read my own handwriting? So when it comes to like reading for others, um, what kind of headspace do you get into before you start reading for others?
What do you mean by aspects that I get into?
No,
Like,
what's your headspace like when you start to like read for others? Do you like do you have to meditate on anything, or can you just like I'm gonna start reading right now? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, for sure. I think because I did practice as a therapist for a year, I've seen hundreds of clients. I've had hundreds of maybe thousands at this point one-on-one sessions. So I feel like at this point in my life, it comes very naturally. It
Okay.
feels very natural to just prop up and have a one-on-one and do a
Oh,
reading
okay.
for somebody. I would say that the meditation often comes after because hearing everyone's stories and stepping into their world and seeing the world through their eyes and really understanding what they need and what they value, like, it does take energy, like and it can drain you if you don't take care of yourself after. So I would say that the meditation comes afterwards, like taking care of myself and my
Mm.
energy after. But when I am preparing to do readings, especially live on TikTok, like I do just have like a mental run through of like, okay, like this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it. Like I do take some deep breaths, I do like ground myself, and I'm like, I'm here to help people. That's why I'm here. And then I'm like, as long as that's my intent and that's what I go in doing and making sure that my clients feel like they have more clarity on themselves and their situation and somewhat of a plan moving forward that they feel good about, as long as I accomplish that, then I'm good. And then I dive into it.
Mhm. This is one of my long-time listeners, Miss Sandra. Miss Sandra, I hope you're doing better. She's been uh, in rehab for a while. She took a
Mm,
nasty spill, but I hope you're doing better. So everybody send her some
thank
positive
you.
energy. Make sure she gets healed. Hope you're home. Are you home yet, Sandra? Um, but yeah, you talked about doing the whole TikTok thing, right? And reading is it weird when you do a collective reading and so many people resonate with that reading? You know what I'm saying? Because you would think maybe one or two, right? But you see these comments, oh shoot, that's so me, that's so me, right? And I've read some of your uh I've seen some of your lives and I'm listening to you, I'm like, holy cow, she's reading this for me, right? It's just the weirdest thing. I just think it's so cool when I see so many people are like, hey, that's me, right? What's that like?
Oh, it is a wild experience because in full transparency, like when I do collective reads, like in my head, I'm like, I hope this lands. Like I hope
Yeah.
like I really hope because I do pick up on energies and the energy and the mindset when you're reading for a collective is a little bit different. Because I'm tapping into the energies of the live, of the room, and of everybody. So it's more of like an objective experience that feels subjective to everybody, if that makes sense. So it's very wild to even knowing and having confidence in the work that I do. It's a wild feeling, but also very fulfilling because it does reaffirm the work that I'm doing and how it speaks to so many people. And I do try to be real with it because I see a lot of collective reads, especially on TikTok, that are like, you're getting that promotion, he's coming back and you're going to marry him. And but these are collective things. So like I would get a collective read and it's like you're going to marry him next month and I'm like, "Who? Like what are you talking about? Like what?" So I like take that out of it because those are just things that people want to hear like specifically like for themselves, and I really just remove myself from that space of like what anyone wants to hear. It's more so what we need to hear and what the general message is and what's actually going to be helpful moving forward. So again, I always feel like going into it with that intent is really helpful for me, but it feels very fulfilling. I love doing collective reads where everyone's like, yes, this resonates. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, like, okay, good. Like, I'm
Yeah.
glad. So
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
it.
that trips me out so much. I'm like like I said, when I see you doing it and I see all these messages coming up, oh shit, that's me. This is you nailed it, right? And I'm thinking the same thing. Holy cow, she nailed it for me too, right? So yeah, I just think it's always funny. Or not, what I'm saying. Yeah. So it says, hey Joe, where's she at? There she goes.
Yay,
Here you
Sandra.
go. Sorry to say, still in rehab, but doing good. I was able to walk today. Oh, good, good, Sandra. Cool. Yeah, so one more time, why don't you give out all your social stuff, like not your social security, but all your social media.
For sure, yeah. So everything that I do can be found on my website. Again, it's blackmoontaylor.com. On my website, you'll find my podcast. It's called Liberated and Free. I call it that because my podcast does seek to empower you and to literally liberate and free you from self limiting beliefs or just limiting beliefs placed upon you, any situation that confines you and restricts you from being your true self. My knowledge and what I express on my podcast is meant to liberate and free you from all of that, especially the guilt and shame that comes with that. So my podcast is on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. My socials are Black Moon Taylor as well on everything. Aside from Instagram, Instagram is Taylor Marie Artist because that was my name before Black Moon Taylor, and I kept it because I love it.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, the website is where you could find the readings as well. And I would also recommend signing up for my email list if you or anyone else is interested, because that's where I keep all the updates on everything. That's how I keep everyone in the loop. I send discount codes there, early access things. Everyone who's on my email list, only the people on my email list will be getting a coupon code for my book when it comes out. It's going to be called The Story of Tarot, Not Your Average Guidebook. So it's going to be a new perspective on tarot. I won't say too much until it's out, but it is going to be an accumulation of the whole story of tarot as well. So that is me in a nutshell and all my socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, my website, YouTube. I think I covered it all. And I do want to, before I forget, I do want to offer you and your viewers specifically a little treat for readings. If anyone is interested in an astro tarot reading, because I combine astrology and tarot these days, if you use code Woodline50 on the 60-minute reading, then you would get 50% off for the next week. So I just wanted to gift y'all that for tuning in, and to also thank you, Joe, for having me on, because I really appreciate it. And this was super fun. So that's everything from me.
Cool, man, dude. I appreciate that so much. I'm sure everybody else will too, and I'll even promote this on my own personal page too. So yeah, hopefully drum me up some business. So anything you want to say before we leave? Anything? Any words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom.
Put you on the spot, didn't I?
I feel like I should have maybe expected this, or like
Yeah,
had the intuition, or maybe a card should have told me this, but
right.
oh, picking from my repertoire of words of wisdom. I think I'm going to start from the ground up. So, for anyone listening to this, where you're at right now is where you're supposed to be. And anyone or anything that made you feel like you cannot be yourself or should not be yourself, that is not your fault, nor was it ever your fault. And you do not need to take that on anymore. So, starting today, give yourself permission to come back home to yourself and be who you are, and liberate and free yourself from any confinement, any trapment that you have in the life around you. I promise you that you are loved. I promise you that you will have support. And I promise you that there is more to this life than you could even imagine moving forward. So if no one told you that they believe in you lately, I believe in you. Joe believes in you. The fact that we're all here right now is a very beautiful thing. And I'm just excited for all of you to see what your manifestations are going to be. And yeah, I'm just very happy and grateful to be here. And you could do it. And if you're looking to learn tarot, you could do that too. It's not that hard. You got this.
Yeah.
It's possible, I promise you.
Well, cool, man. I really do appreciate you coming on. You did a great job. And you're such a great person. And if I could ever help you out in any way, shape, or form, man, hit me up. Shoot me an email, text, whatever you got to do. I'll spread your words all over social media for you if you need me to.
Thank you,
So
Joe.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you
So
so
don't ever,
much.
yeah. So don't
Yeah,
ever feel like you're bugging me, man. Hit me up anytime you want. I
yeah,
do
for
appreciate it.
sure. Yeah,
And any of
and
your, yeah, any of your listeners that are, listening right now, if I can do anything for you guys too, hit me up. Let me know. I'll be happy to help you guys out if I can.
oh,
So with that being said, guys, you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you everyone in the chat for participating. All of Taylor's fan club over here. I appreciate it. And you guys have a great night. Taylor, have a great night. And keep in touch. And like I said, man, hit me up anytime you want.
for
And
sure. Yeah. Thank you so much again. Thank you for having me and like my group here, Joe. Like thank you so much. Like this was amazing. And like back to you too, like reciprocate. If there's anything that I could do for you, I would absolutely love to collaborate again in the
yeah,
future.
definitely. Yeah, I hope there will be a part two to this. Yeah, definitely. She has a lot of content that I haven't even gone through yet. So I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I would love to ask her. But
For
yeah,
sure. Yeah. Thank you so
cool,
much.
man.
Also, I love your podcast. I love the work that you do. I think it's so meaningful, so
Yeah,
powerful. So thank you again for having me. I
yeah, thank you
I
too.
appreciate
Thank
it
you
so
too.
much.
All right, hold on real quick.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. You guys have a great night.